And I think that all of us have access to this innate wisdom, this inner knowing, if we have the courage to be still and to listen to it. And again, that takes some practice in a culture that constantly like this and this. And that's always like, well, what do you think I should do? Or, what's the money or what's the opportunity or what am I going to get from this? Rather than trusting that you have this innate tool inside that is designed to guide you to your highest and best everything. Beliefs really are like the train tracks that underpin our lives, that really decide where we're going to go and how we're going to get there. But so many times we don't understand that that's really what's running the show, right? Some of our kind of deepest, most kind of subconscious beliefs about who we are as human beings, what we're capable of, what we're not capable of, how we feel about society, men, women, marriage, money, business, all of these things. We don't often recognize that it's these deep-rooted beliefs, oftentimes that we didn't choose for ourselves. I think one of the most interesting aspects of beliefs is you think about us as babies. We kind of pop out and we're pretty fresh and we're happy. And as we grow up, we're like little sponges, absorbing the beliefs of our family, our caretakers, the media, society. Women are allowed to do X, or if I look like this, I can only reach that, or, money is bad and evil, or success means X, Y, or Z. And so I think beliefs are sometimes so hidden to us that we don't recognize that they could be the thing that are holding us back. And, coaching people over the last 2 decades now, here's what's something that's interesting. Many times in personal development, people feel like you have to kind of unearth all of your negative and limiting beliefs, and we all have them. But here's what's awesome about the notion that everything is figureoutable. I like to describe it almost as the master key, right? It's like you don't have to go searching around the corners of your consciousness to find all those negative beliefs and fix yourself and change them. If you absolutely adopt this notion that everything is figureoutable, it's the first domino that you push and everything else becomes possible. So, for example, for me, early on in my career, I had some really negative limiting beliefs around money. And a lot of my beliefs around money were formed as a child. My parents were going through a divorce. I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I remember just standing in my kitchen and my mom and dad had just signed the divorce papers. All their fights, it wasn't about infidelity. It wasn't about necessarily like substance abuse or anything like that. It was always about money. My mom feeling like there wasn't enough. She had no control over it. She, didn't have the kind of power to direct where it was going. And so when they got divorced, I was clear as around money. So I formed these beliefs as a young child. And those beliefs, I had to wrestle with them. Early on in my adult life, I remember being deep in debt. I just had all of these kind of twisted, conflicted notions around myself and money and worth. And so the process of using this idea, everything is figureoutable, I used it then to go, you know what? I can figure money out. I can use this as a tool to heal myself and to heal other people and to help others not have suffering in their lives. So, everything is figureoutable really can be that master key that helps people wipe through anything that holds them back. Sometimes we don't even understand or realize how much they're driving us until you kind of pause and recognize that they are running the show, right? So we have a simple formula in the book. Our beliefs create our thoughts, and our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings create our behavior, and our behavior creates our results. And so if you want anything to change on the results level, don't just go to the behaviors or the feelings or even the thoughts. We need to go deeper to our beliefs, because if we can handle that, everything changes. We need to give ourselves permission to have those bad days, because we all have them. People often ask me, they're like, you seem so confident all the time and you seem like you have everything together. And I'm like, well, you don't see me when I'm struggling. Like, I'm like on the phone with a friend going like, I don't know if this is any good, or I don't know if X, Y, and Z is working, or, kind of those things that we just do in private, quite frankly. So I think knowing that all of us have bad days and you can be like, oh, this is the worst. It's understanding that we have the power to assign any situation either an empowering meaning or a disempowering meaning. Let's say I am a first-time writer and I've sent out my manuscript and I got rejected again. I can take that very neutral fact and assign a meaning or a story to it that says, well, I'm a failure. No one likes my shit and I should just give up and I should stop being a writer clearly because here's another rejection letter. So that is what I would categorize as a disempowering meaning. You're not going to feel good. You're probably not going to take a productive, effective action from that state of mind. And you may not ever reach your ultimate dream of being perhaps a published writer. You could choose to assign that same neutral fact an empowering meaning, which could be, and we can come up with tons of them. Maybe it's like, you know what? Every rejection means I'm one step closer to success because I'm actually getting my work out there. And if I'm getting my work out there, that means that I could possibly be published. You could assign an empowering meaning like this. That particular article or story wasn't right for that publisher. They're not rejecting me, they're rejecting the work. Let me go find another publisher that might be aligned with this particular story. This isn't about being Pollyanna. It's understanding the power that we have of perception and our ability to assign a meaning to any fact that presents itself to us. And I think there's something interesting. There's this great quote: life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. I love that because there are going to be hard truths in all of our lives. And I feel like the only thing that we can control is how we contextualize what happens and therefore how we respond to what happens. Let's say two people lose their job, which is absolutely not a good thing for most of us, right? We want to have a living. We need to have the income. We have the responsibility to our families. One person says, that's it. I'm washed up. I'm never going to work again. I'm irrelevant. And just starts being and feeling down about themselves, sitting on the couch, sleeping in late, not doing anything productive to change the situation. Same person loses the job, says, you know what? This is awful. And this really hurts. And maybe this is the opportunity that I've been looking for to start my own business. Or maybe this is an opportunity to find a job that's going to value me more and that I'm actually going to like. Different contexts create different actions, create different outcomes. Many of the times, what stops us all from figuring something out is we're afraid, right? We're afraid maybe we won't be able to do it, or we're just afraid of the area that we need to walk into in order to figure it out. And then people often have asked me, well, how do I know the difference between healthy fear that would be very good for me to move through versus my intuition or a gut instinct or a hunch going, no, that's actually going to be a shit show, right? Or that's just going to be, it's something you should not do. And that's a really important question. Here's what's awesome. You don't need to go asking other people for the answer. You have all of the wisdom you need inside of you. And just to step back and to create a context for why what I'm about to share is so important for all of us to practice, and I still practice it to this day. We live in such a sedentary culture, right? Where we're spending 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day sitting, staring at our screens. So we're living from the neck up. And many of us have lost touch with the wisdom and the intelligence that exists in our physical bodies because simply we're not moving enough. And as someone who's been a Nike athlete, fitness is a big part of my life. Movement is a huge part of my life. I see very clearly when I am moving consistently, I have access. It's like a channel opens up where there is so much intelligence and so much insight that has not to do with my logical, reasonable brain. It has to do with another plane. And when I don't, I get up here and it all gets twisted and then I'm unclear. So if you are facing an opportunity, a possibility to say yes to a job, a speaking engagement, a date, who knows, it could be any realm of life, and you're not sure whether you should move ahead with it, here's what you need to do. Get to a place where you're quiet, nothing's around, make sure that there's no technology, and I would invite people to close their eyes while they do this. So ask yourself, does the idea of moving ahead with this, of saying yes to this, make me feel expansive or contracted? In the nanosecond after you ask yourself that question, your body will have a physical response. So expansive may actually be as though your shoulders are relaxing and your chest is opening up. Expansive may feel like even your physical body is moving ahead in space. Expansive may feel like a twinge or a tingle of excitement or joy or anticipation. Even if the notion of this feels intimidating to you or like something you've never done before, there is a lightness, a moving forward, ever so subtle, visceral yes, whether it shows up in word form or merely through the movement of your body. That's expansive. Now, let's look at the flip side. If you ask yourself this question, does the idea of saying yes to this make me feel expansive or contracted? And in the nanosecond after you ask that question, you find a pit in your stomach, or a sense of dread, or your shoulders kind of hunching forward, or even your body just shaking back in space, or your head saying no. That's your intuition trying to save your butt and tell you don't move ahead with this. And here's why this is so important. Often when we're faced with an opportunity that our ego thinks we should move ahead with, right? Either there's a significant amount of money on the line, or some type of opportunity that we feel will give us an edge, something beyond the competition, or put us on a level. That we're playing in a field that we're like, yeah, now we've really made it. And it looks good on paper, but something inside is like not right. That's when we need to listen to this most and use this test, because I don't know if you've experienced this. When you override those little feelings of dread, even though everything looks so cool on paper, that's when we get ourselves into trouble and get off track. And I think that all of us have access to this innate wisdom, this inner knowing, if we have the courage to be still and to listen to it. And again, that takes some practice in a culture that is constantly like this and this. And that's always like, well, what do you think I should do? Or, what's the money, or what's the opportunity, or what am I going to get from this? Rather than trusting that you have this innate tool inside that is designed to guide you to your highest and best everything.